it should be possible for computers to detect malicious, misleading, and incorrect information and essentially have you not see it. We're not arguing for censorship. We're arguing just take it off the page, right? Put it somewhere else. Make it harder to find.
Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. And that was Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, who now runs Alphabet, which is still connected to Google, saying that information that he finds misleading, that he won't censor, but he'll eventually just put it in a place where no one can find, which is the definition of censorship. You know, just more disinformation, Orwellian 1984 doublespeak. And in this video, we are going to be talking about the multi-billion-dollar CIA monopoly company that eventually wants to control the world. And that, of course, is Google, which I see as a big of threat as the former robber barons, industrialists, and banksters like the Rockefellers, whose time has passed. And now the elites who want to control everything have learned that individuals who have these same goals and aspirations like the Rockefellers are more vulnerable unless they have bigger institutions like, say, name brand companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Twitter to effectively reach the same goals that these individuals had. Guess what? This behemoth multi-billion-dollar monopoly CIA company also has some vulnerabilities, which we will get into in this video. Now, let me preface this video with how one of the biggest robber barons in the early 1900s was able to gain power and influence. This, of course, is John D. Rockefeller, who had his Standard Oil Trust broken up by the Supreme Court in 1911. One of the ways that John D. Rockefeller became one of the most influential and powerful families in the United States was through his horrible business practices and his monopoly. An example in very vague terms, what Rockefeller would do was set up a gas station next to a local small business gas station. He would lower the price for, say, for an example, $1 a gallon. The local small business could only sell gas at what they were getting it for with a small profit, let's say $2. Of course, everyone would go to John D. Rockefeller's gas station because it was cheaper, it was more affordable, it was more convenient. And then, of course, the local small business would go out of business. And then John D. Rockefeller would buy up the competitor's gas station on pennies on the dollar and then set the price to $4 a gallon for gas. Then the local community didn't have any competitors in their region, in their city, and then had to pay hiked up gas prices since John D. Rockefeller took out the competition with his monopoly. And now something very similar is happening, but with something that is more valuable than just gas, and that is information. Now, I know there's a big portion of our audience that is for free market capitalism, that are anarchists, that are libertarians, but please, before freaking out and talking about my roads, just please follow me through on this video because I am very interested in your comments down below about what we find out today. Now, Google is not just in the business of search engines. They are also financially supporting left-leaning policy stops. Google's parent company has helped raise a liberal army intent on hashing out policy to help bend U.S. policy to their benefactors' advantage. But now, what happens when these independent think tanks that were supported by Google publish something that questions the authority of Google? Well, one researcher at the left-leaning New American think tank learned the punishment is swift and severe. His name is Brian Lynn, and he dared to ask the question, is Google a monopoly? He did spend years studying the growing power of tech giants like Google and Facebook, and he believes the answer is yes. And that opinion has cost him his job, and that's because Google funds this scholarly research and supposedly independent think tank, the New American Foundation that he was working for. And according to the New York Times, shortly after this was publicized, Eric Schmidt got on the phone with this supposed independent think tank, the blog post was temporarily removed, and Barry Lynn was fired. In his article, Barry Lynn mentioned how he agreed with the recent EU decision to levy a record $2.4 billion fine on Google for breaching antitrust laws and abusing its market dominance. Lynn wrote, quote, Google market power is one of the most critical challenges for competition policymakers in the world today. Now, I believe Google's latest actions shows how this multi-billion-dollar monopoly CIA-funded network that looks like it can never be stopped has a very big weak spot. And that, of course, is government regulation. Now, hold on. Calm down there. I see you typing away, you free market capitalist. Calm down. I do believe there's a solution outside of government regulation that I will talk about later in this video, but personally, I do not believe that government regulation will work. Primarily because Google is one of the biggest lobbyists in Washington, D.C., and spends millions of dollars trying to influence D.C. lawmakers. They also receive and continue to receive government subsidies all the way up to $630 million. Our tax dollars are being used to finance the rise of Google, company that many analysts say was funded and started by the CIA. The United States intelligence community funded, nurtured, and incubated Google as part of a drive to dominate the world through control of information, seed funding by the NSA and CIA. Google was merely the first among a plethora of private sector startups co-opted by U.S. intelligence to retain information superiority. And this is not a conspiracy theory. Even Obama said it himself. Google, Facebook would not exist without government funding. This is the same Google that has a secret alliance with the NSA, National Security Agency, that works hand in hand with them with virtually unchecked surveillance powers on you, the American public. And that's why the man you saw in the beginning of this video, Eric Schmidt, is now helping run the Pentagon surveillance program. And to add insult to injury, Google has also moved billions of dollars to Bermuda to avoid paying taxes. And this is why I believe the argument that Google is a private company and they could do what they want is totally invalid and doesn't make sense from the free market capitalistic side, mainly because this company was subsidized by U.S. intelligence agencies, by the U.S. government seed funding, helping it beat out its competitors who didn't comply with the U.S. government. This is a company that continues to get subsidies from your taxes as they are working with the U.S. government to spy on you. And I'm sorry, the free market capitalistic arguments that Google is a private company does not apply here because they use socialistic government policies to enable their rise and dominance in the online market right now. They're just switching back and forth. Okay, we'll use socialism to get more power, money, and control, even still relying on subsidies. Meanwhile, at the same time, if anyone criticizes us, oh, you're just for anti-capitalism. And that's bullcrap. Now, before getting into solutions that we, the people, could take to prevent this monopoly getting even bigger and dominating more, I want to talk about some of the more sinister things that we have to understand right now about this company. And it's not just me, it's other people who see Google as a major threat to our way of life. It's really Google, not the US government, that is building the future. They're developing deep learning AI, artificial intelligence systems, whose abilities will be way more powerful and influential than, say, a representative government. And Julian Assange even said that Google is not what it seems and they could do things that the CIA cannot. Researchers and scientists have even come to the conclusion that Google could rig elections through their search algorithm, which could easily shift the voting preferences of undecided voters by 20% or more, up to 80% in some demographic groups. And they could do all of this with virtually no one knowing that they are being manipulated. And while they become more powerful by the day, they are waging a censorship campaign against news organizations that publish content which conflicts with the narrative of the Washington establishment. They not only have the proven ability to rig search results and to hurt the consumer, but through their companies have been blatantly censoring content and waging a war on alternative media to bankrupt independent journalism, which for a number of years now has been severely destroying our income, to the point in many times throughout my career where I didn't know if I was able to continue my operation because Google decided to cut off my monetization. Now, of course, a lot of people have been affected. It's not just me. But what's very concerning about what's happening right now with Google is the fact that they're choosing to go after independent media primarily as their first target and not terrorist videos or even disturbing videos for pedophiles on their network, which again for me shows another very weak spot for Google, showing how afraid of real independent media they are and how much of an effect we're actually having. Now, knowing what we know, what is the best way to stop Google from getting more power, money, and control? Well, the answer is very simple. It may be more convenient, it may be more cheaper, it may be a lot easier to use Google's services, just like it was that gas station that sold gas for $1. But knowing what we know now and sharing this information with your friends and family members, spreading it to as many people as you can, you could take away this company's main driving force, and that of course is you and your information. You have to understand, when something is free, you are the product. This company is only as powerful as it is right now because of our participation, and we could take that away. We could use alternatives like DuckDuckGo instead of Google search. We could set up Firefox browsers instead of Chrome browsers. We could start using alternative social media accounts like steemit.com/@LukeWeAreChange, which helps you and me raise cryptocurrencies with just participating in their system. And just know the solutions go on and on and on, because you have to understand, the government, which is so intertwined with Google, will not regulate Google. It is up to us and only us to do this very important job. But now understand, by doing this video, relying on YouTube as the platform to spread this message, which is owned by Google, I am eventually shooting myself in the foot and risking the chance of totally being deplatformed from the biggest platform that I operate on, which is this YouTube channel. So make sure to go to wearechange.org, sign up on our email list. We're not sending out emails yet. We will when they take us down. And understand that without your participation, without your donations, whether through PayPal or Bitcoins, I would not be able to be here. You're more important than ever, and our actions together cohesively could make a major difference in this world. I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching.